A day to remember for the rest of your lives.
There's a great promise for all of you.
The Pro Football Hall of Fame and Extreme Networks present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program. With nearly 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 48 states around this country, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans how to huddle up during a time when we need to be united.
It's time for America to take a real deep dive. Not at no one else, but at yourself individually. If you want to change America, don't brush your teeth with your head down. Look at who you are and be the example. Be the example.
An opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. Single-parent homes, drug-infested neighborhoods, and poverty.
I grew up in a neighborhood that was considered one of the worst in America, and the household I grew up in was one of the worst in that neighborhood. By the time I was 20 years old, I knew at least 30 friends or family members who had lost their lives. Football became like a second parent to me. It taught me the things that my father wasn't there to teach me, and that my mother, as a struggling, single-parent woman, just didn't know to teach me.
But they learn how to live a life of character before pursuing their football careers. Today, you will learn you can do the same that they once did. Making good decisions can lead to a prosperous life both on and off the field. Your game for life has already begun. It's your decision whether or not you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
Every one of you can have a Hall of Fame life, whether or not you play football. You can be as great as you want to be. The Hall of Fame is all about integrity, character, and excellence. You have the opportunity to represent yourself that way. You determine your character.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, the Heart of a Hall of Famer.
For those of you young people out there who want to play the game of football, I wanted you to know some of the things that it really took from me, and maybe you'll learn from my experience. I loved it. I reverenced it. And I really appreciated it. And I knew to be a good player at that game, I had to work hard. I had to understand what 100% was all about. So you young people, set your goals high. You know it can happen for you. Get the most out of your abilities. That's what Frank Kush taught us in college. And that's what I think young people who take anything seriously should try to do. Remember, there are no limits. I want to thank you for making this the greatest day of my life and sharing this day with me. Thank you all. God bless you.
And with that, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Pro Football Hall of Fame right here in Canton, Ohio, the most inspiring place on earth, for the latest installment of our Heart of a Hall of Famer series powered by Extreme Networks. Today, featuring the gold jacket you just heard from right there, Mr. Mike Haynes. And we'll get to Mr. Haynes here in a second. But before we do, I want to introduce myself. My name is Jake Ray, and I'm the Youth and Education Manager here. And I'll be moderating the session today. Before we dive in, just to talk a little bit about us at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Our mission here is to honor the heroes of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence everywhere. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence, all of which not only make great football players into Hall of Famers, but they make great men. They make great people into great men. So these Hall of Famers, and you'll hear from Mr. Haynes today how these values impacted their career both on and off the field. Before we get started, though, some thank yous I'd like to pass out. First of all, I'd like to thank our great partners at Extreme Networks. You know, without them, this program couldn't take place. They do a bunch of great things for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and they do a lot of great things for NFL teams, colleges, high schools, school districts all across the country. Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers and administrators. You know, without you guys allowing us to come into your classroom today, this program couldn't take place. So we're super excited that you allowed us to be a part of your learning. We know this year has been super crazy when it comes to school, and we're just excited that you allowed us to help out with the learning for the students today. And then lastly, I'd like to thank our students. You know, without you guys today, the program definitely doesn't take place. I'm excited to see what questions you have for Mr. Haynes today. I'm sure he's ready and prepared to answer any question that's thrown his way. If you're viewing us live today and you're a student who's watching us on YouTube, make sure you put into a comment section if you have a question for Mr. Haynes, and we'll try our best to get it in as part of the program as well. So put your name, the school you go to, and your question, and we'll try our best to make it a part of the program. So without further ado, that's enough from me. I'd like to turn things over for any opening remarks from our special guest today, Mr. Mike Haynes. Mike, welcome to the program today.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you for actually having me on. I'm looking forward to talking to. How many viewers do we have?
We're hitting about 30 to 40 watching us live, and we got about 6 or 7 classes connected in with students from all over the country waiting to hear some great words of wisdom from you today.
All right. Well,
So,
you guys,
no pressure.
Oh, no. I'm just, you're going to get honesty from me. I guarantee you that I will answer all your questions honestly. I was born in the 50s. I went to high school in basically the 60s, college in the 70s. So I'm not a young spring chicken. I just want you guys to know that. And America, our great country, was a different country during those times. And a lot of things have changed over my lifetime. And I'm hoping that you guys who are watching will have even a better life than I've had. You know, through football, I actually learned an awful lot, a lot of life lessons that have really helped me off the field as well. I got great coaching, and fortunately, being an African American, when you play with a diverse group of teammates, the one thing that can help everybody want everybody to do well is a team environment. I could be the greatest player in the world, but if my team doesn't do well, it's not a lot of fun to be on that team. It doesn't really work like that. And so through sports, I learned to get rid of some of the negative thoughts that I had about different people. You know, I played with a lot of Hispanic kids and Asian kids and Jewish kids and white kids and kids from Africa, kids from Jamaica. I played with a lot of different people. And to win, we all had to get on the same page and operate as one unit. And that's what I love about sports. And it's really sports, I believe, that have helped our country bond together a lot more than if we didn't have sports. And even the sports that are international, like the Olympic sports, that's even helped even more so. When you go back and you study some of the history of some of the famous American athletes, and, you know, like Jesse Owens, who was in, I don't know, the 36 Olympics or something like that. And, you know, he was there where Hitler was, and how there were Jewish athletes on the American team, and all these different issues. And today it's a little different. It's a lot different. But it's still there. There's still racism out there. Sports is still contributing in a positive way in dealing with a lot of these issues. And I'm excited that to speak to you guys. My sports career has been really fun, and I've learned a lot. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to transfer some of my experiences to you guys that you'll be able to relate to, and maybe it'll even help you move to a higher level or encourage you to set your goals even higher than you have. So thank you, Jake, for that few moments.
No problem. Students, I hope you have a great fun time today and you learn a little bit. I tell you what, I'm probably going to learn some stuff today too. So it's great to hear all the words of wisdom from our gold jackets like Mr. Mike Haynes. And Mike, I'm going to start everything off here. And I mentioned those 5 values at the beginning: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence. Now, the game of football teaches so many different values, and it was hard to kind of nail down to those 5. But out of those five, is there one that stands out to you as more important than the others, or do they all kind of play in tandem with each other to kind of make the best person, the best athlete that you can be?
Yeah, I think they all work together, and it's really commitment for me. If I make a commitment to my team, or commitment to my goal, or commitment to my mom or my family or my friends, it's really important. And I think being the best you that you can be is really what kind of guided my life. I was very fortunate to be in California. My dad was actually from Ohio. He lived in Dayton, Ohio, and had a lot of cool experiences in his childhood, and even received an offer to play basketball at Ohio State, but elected to go into the military instead. Now, I think that's crazy. I mean, today, I think he'd be crazy not to go to Ohio State, but during his childhood, it probably was a good decision. However, a lot of these great athletes that we hear about, they all seem to have come out of Ohio. What the heck is that all about? I don't know. But it's all those words that you mentioned are important to me, without a doubt. That character is the most important thing.
And I think, and everybody watching, they'll kind of see, throughout the program that these values kind of keep popping up. And it's not so much about the football career. And we'll get into some stuff on the field throughout your career. But, these values play such a great role in so many different parts of your lives. And that's a really cool thing about, football. We like to say here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we're unapologetically football. And we know other stuff teaches all these values, but we really focus on the game of football because it does transcend into your everyday life. So with that being said, we're gonna open things up for our students now. Our first class we're gonna go to Mrs. Moore's class from Derby Academy up there in the New England area. So probably got some Patriots fans there tuning in today. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask them to unmute their mic here. We're gonna have one of their students come up to the microphone and ask their question for Mr. Haynes. So Mrs. Moore, whenever you're ready, have the student come up and ask their question.
Hi there. We actually have a couple of questions that were sent online because we have some students who are tuning in from other parts of the school that are not able to interact live. So if you give me just 1 second, I will actually read the question that they sent.
All right, that sounds good. We'll just keep it right here. We'll let you get those questions pulled up. And this is the cool thing about this technology, we're able to connect schools, not only in all across the country, but in the same building as well. Now, normally we love to have all, 400 kids in an assembly hall, but we got to be as safe as we can. So Miss Moore, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
All right. So one of our students wanted to know, was there ever a time when you felt like giving up or didn't feel like you were up to the task? Or was there a moment when you were younger when you finally knew you had kind of the stuff to succeed and chase your dreams?
Well, thank you for that question. That's a real good question, actually. I gave up as a young kid. I really did. The thing that kept me going was sports. Being an African American kid, I for some reason I didn't think that I could achieve the same goals that some of my white friends could achieve. Like, I didn't think I could become president. I didn't think I could become chief of police. I didn't think I could do anything. I didn't even know if I could go to college. I didn't think my parents could afford me to go to college. I didn't really know what a scholarship was. But because of sports, I was really, really blessed. I was selected to play in a football all-star game. And in the all-star game, I had a great game. And after the game, all these college scouts were wanting to talk to me. And this is embarrassing to admit to you guys, but like when they would say, "Hey, what was your GPA?" I said, "Gosh, I have no idea. I didn't even know what my GPA was." And they'd say, "Hey, were you in the upper half of your graduating class?" I think, I had to be. I'm smarter than most of the yo-yos at my school that I know. Of course I'm in the upper half. Well, it turns out I wasn't in the upper half. I hadn't taken the SAT test, and I barely had a 2.5 GPA. And so I was a little bit embarrassed, but But really, my parents never said anything about going to college. They never even came to my sports events for the most part. So that was a little unusual. And so when I realized, gosh, I have an opportunity to go to college, I just have to take the ACT test. And I don't want to tell the whole story because it'll take way too long. But I eventually took the ACT test. And with that test score, I got into college. And when I got into college, funny, now I actually had a reason to study because I'm thinking, hey, I'm in college. Hey, I can maybe, own a business. And so I started to study and I made the dean's list. Not only was I a student, I turned out to be a pretty good student. Because when I was younger, if not for cute girls, I probably never would have even have been a 2.5 GPA, student. I'd flirt with girls and say, hey, let's study together, And then because I studied with her, and she's in my class, I'd want to get a better grade than she got so she would think I was, pretty good kid. And so I have to thank sports. I have to thank cute girls who are, willing to be my friend and, and all those kinds of things. And so in a lot of ways, I got lucky. I like to think God was working in my life and bringing people into my life that helped me. And I kind of was stumbling along and things kind of worked out. In college as a freshman, I started as a freshman. We went to the Fiesta Bowl. I made all conference later. I just had a great sports career. And having that career, I had an opportunity to meet people. And then I started realizing, wow, my goals were so low. I didn't even think I could go to college. Here I am in college. I didn't think I could make it to the NFL. And gosh, I made all conference in college and I'm one of the best players in college. So I don't know why, but I started to, as a senior in college, realize that my mindset or everybody's mindset is the most important thing. You really need somebody in your life that's talking to you about these things like, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Where do you want to live? How would you know if you've only lived in your little town or your little city, never really been out of it? And how would you know if you don't know anybody that's been a politician or a police officer or a fireman or a doctor or a lawyer or any of these other things that you might have thought about? Or you might think, oh, I'm not smart enough to be a lawyer. Oh, I'm not smart enough to be a doctor. Well, what I have learned is, yes, you are. The thing that it really takes to be one of those things or what you really want is passion. Because when you really want to be that, it's that important to you, you'll put in the work. You'll find out what you need to find out to make it happen. And that's my experience. And so I always like to talk to young people and try and encourage them to find out more about what they really like. What are you really passionate about? And then follow your passion.
I think that's a great way to put it. I got a question here coming into from our live YouTube viewers. This is from a student at Partham Elementary School whose name is Jeremiah, and I apologize if I mispronounce that. But he wants to know, they want to know, how do you deal with being famous? And I think I want to kind of tailor that into, you get into college, you have the great success, you get into the NFL, and all of a sudden, you're a guy that everybody knows after, might have been under the radar, whether it be in high school and college. So I think the term that comes to mind is humility. So how important does being humble and having that side of you play into not leading to success on the field?
Well, I think it's really important. What actually happens with the success, the more success you have, the bigger voice you have, a bigger platform that you have, where, if you don't like something and you say something, it can change a lot of things. Like as an example, you guys are all listening to me and maybe you think, wow, he is a guy that is super successful and has lived everything, just right and all that. Well, if I said something negative, that it would be horrible, and so I always try to remain positive no matter what. Because, I actually have an experience of where when I was in college and I said something that was negative, that ended up in the paper, big time. And a lot of people thought poorly of me. And I really thought that I didn't like that. And so I started to realize that the words I use and the things that I think, if they're not positive, maybe I shouldn't say anything about it. If I'm going to say something negative, I should probably do my homework to make sure that I'm saying something that I really am deliberately saying, because I know the impact that it's going to have.
I think so. I think that's a great way to put it. Next question we're going to go out to our backyard here, students at our Canton City School District. We're going to go to Mr. Little's class, and they've got a student ready to go and ask a question for you. So whenever you're ready there, Mr. Lytle, go ahead and have your student ask their question.
What advice can you give young people about how to develop their character?
How to develop their character?
Yeah.
Thank you for that question. I would say that your parents, especially at your age, they are the ones that have the opportunity to work with you to develop your character. And I would guess that your mom, your dad, your grandmother, your teachers, people that are in your life a lot, that they're going to be the ones that will help you develop your character. Just put in time with your teachers, your parents, and ask them those kind of things like, hey, Mom, what can I do today that's going to help you? I believe that a character that wants to serve others and help other people is the right way to go. So it's just think about helping other people. I think that's the best way to go.
And you think about helping others, and I think that's a great way. You look at sports, and truly, any situation, whether it's the classroom, the place you work, you have a team with you. And you mentioned, working with other people. So how important was it for you to be a good teammate throughout your career in the NFL, and even afterwards with some of the things you took on, whether it be working with franchises, working with the league itself? How important is it to make sure you're being a good teammate?
I think it's really important. And, I think, first of all, I think it's important to be good at whatever your role is on the team. And so you might be the best in your area at your position or whatever it is you're playing. But if your teammates don't feel the same way and aren't working just as hard, it could end up being a bad experience for you. So what I always used to do is I used to help the other kids. And so if I was the best, I wasn't keeping all that information to myself. I would share it. Well, hey, my dad and I, we do this in the mornings or we do this on the weekends, and I have someone helping me with this or that. I'm glad to help you with it if you want me to help you. So that's what I always did. And, as a real young kid, we didn't have captains very often on teams. It was just the kids and the coach. But as I got older in high school, we did have captains. And as a captain, I always tried to be positive and support the coach's decisions. And I'd meet privately with the coach sometimes. But in every situation, it was always about the entire team and never just about me.
I think that's a great way because, like I said, teammates at any level are super, super important. And we've talked a lot about, kind of that character portion of the game of football and those Hall of Fame values we believe in. That's a super important part of our mission statement. But first and foremost, here in Canton, Ohio, we are a museum. And we have to, preserve the history of all the great heroes like Mr. Mike Haynes to showcase to the world that what the game of football can do from the beginning all the way back in the late 1800s all the way up to the game today. So what we want to do is now we're going to go live to our museum. We've got a special guest today. He's going to talk a little bit about his career, some of the things he does, and show you guys some of the cool artifacts from Mr. Haynes's football career. So I'm going to throw it down to our Ralph Wilson Preservation Center to my friend, coworker, Mr. John Kendall. So John, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. Mike, it's always a pleasure to spend time with you. My name is John Kendall. I'm Director of Archives and Football Information here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And right now we're standing in the Ralph Wilson Jr. Pro Football Research and Preservation Center. And this is an area where, when Jake talked about our mission to honor the heroes of the game, preserve its history, promote its values, and celebrate excellence everywhere. We're really hitting on every single one of those points down here. We're honoring the heroes of the game by preserving their legacies through their artifacts and their documents and their stories. And then we're able to take those stories and showcase the values that the game teaches, the commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and excellence that these individuals demonstrated both on and off the field. And hopefully by doing that, we're able to change some lives. We're able to show you that the same values that made Mike Haynes great on the football field are the same values that make you a great student, a great educator, a great parent. Those things transcend the football field. And so, as it relates to what we have in the archives here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we have over 40 million pages of documents, 6 million photographic images, and over 30,000 artifacts related not just to the history of the game, but really every player, coach, and administrator who built the game to what it is today. With Mike Haynes, you've been so gracious to loan so many artifacts and documents to us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame that we can use to tell your story. Hopefully, at some point, those will transition into donations, but we have a huge photo collection here. So from early in your career with the Patriots to later in your career with the Raiders, and then your Hall of Fame induction ceremony. This is a great piece from just coming out of college. You were a college all-star, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that may have been the last college all-star game ever to be played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1976, and that pitted the college all-stars of a given season versus the NFL champion, something that will never happen again today. Too much at stake for all parties involved. But we also have great news clipping files. So these are all articles from magazines and newspapers that were written on your career. And I love this, How to Avoid Mike Haynes. This is an article all about how quarterbacks didn't throw your way because you were such a lockdown cornerback there. Here we've got a media guide bio from your last season with the Raiders. You can see it's quite in depth there. We also have a media guide bio from your first year, a rookie season with the Patriots here. And then a couple of unique things that you loaned to us. This is a warm-up jersey from the Raiders basketball team. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about that here in just a couple of minutes. And then some some game programs as well. And so this is from 1997 when you were enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. This showcases all the Raiders legends that were in the Hall of Fame at that time. And then this game program here is from 1976, and it's not your first game played, but this shows you here as a starter at right cornerback. But that was November 7th. Versus the Buffalo Bills. And I don't know how clearly you recall that game, but that was the second interception of your career, but you also had your first punt return of your career for a touchdown. And so you had, I think, 4 returns for 150 plus yards and a touchdown, also 1 interception for 2 yards returned, and you guys won that game. But one of the questions I want to ask you is, how did, being a multi-sport athlete, I know you played basketball, you played some baseball, you're a great golfer. How did being a multi-sport athlete help you on the football field?
Well, I actually think it helped quite a bit, actually, because to be a great football player, you have to have a lot of different skills. And to work on those skills, if I just played football year round, it probably would have been boring. But, for football, you do jump. So, playing basketball is going to help. You do have to make sharp cuts, right or left. You do that in all these other sports as well. And so you're developing a lot of skill and having fun at the same time. So it keeps you sharp and you want to excel no matter if it's, basketball, track or baseball. You want to do well. So you still set your goals high. You expect to do really well. But it's never comparing yourself to others. It's like just having a good time. My dad wanted me to be a baseball player. And that was my number one sport until the 10th grade in high school. In high school, all of my friends, they all wanted to play football, and I wanted to play baseball. So I went out for the baseball team. I didn't know anybody on the baseball team, and I asked the coach, "Hey, is it too late to go out for the track team? That's where all my friends who play football, that's where they are." And he said, "Oh no, it's not too late, Mr. Haynes." And so I gave up baseball really, and at the school, and I kept playing in the parks on the park league. But not for the school. But I love sports, and I think it's important to play multiple sports and develop skills, all different kinds of skills, until you get to a certain age. Then it maybe makes more sense to just focus on maybe one or two.
Well, thank you so much for all you've done for the game, all you continue to do for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and spending time with us today. Send it back to you, Jake.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate that inside look to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, kind of behind the scenes, all the cool stuff we have on display here in Canton, Ohio. And one of the things I want to talk about is, Mr. Haynes, is you saw some of those programs there from your first games in the NFL as a rookie. And this is a question, we like to ask because everybody kind of has a different answer. But what was your, welcome to the NFL moment? That moment's like, all right, I'm in the big leagues now. It's time to go. What was that moment for you?
That's a funny question. Well, one, I think as a kid, I was kind of a stubborn. I don't know what's the right word to say, but so, when I joined the Patriots as a rookie, they had all these different traditions, and I wasn't used to talking about traditions, and I wasn't used to participating in these traditions. And the year before I joined the Patriots, they had only won 3 games for the entire season. And so I thought they weren't that good of a team, even though one of my teammates that I played with in college, who was a little older than me, he had joined the Patriots already. And he said, "No, Mike, we really are pretty good. We just had a lot of injuries and a lot of bad luck." And so I didn't really believe him. So when I joined the team, they were telling me about some of their rookie traditions, and that me being a rookie, I was going to have to do some of those things. And I said, "I'm not doing them. I'm not doing what you guys have always done. You guys have not been winners. I'm not used to losing. I'm sorry, dude, I'm not doing it." And so they said, "Well, yes, you are." And so then after practice, 3 of the veteran players said, "Mr. Haynes, come over here." And so I walked with those guys and said, "Look, it's a tradition. I did it. He did it. He did it. And you're going to do it, Mr. Haynes. If you don't do it, it's going to be miserable for you here." And so I looked at those guys, and I did not want it to be miserable for me. And so I joined in, and I did something that I really didn't want to do. And so they had this rookie show. And one of the things that I had to do that they chose for me to do was to dress up like a girl. So I had a dress, a blouse, stockings, and something in my hair. I'm so glad there's no pictures of that. But I had to put that on, and then it was a beauty contest, and so other rookies were doing the same thing. It wasn't just like they picked on me. And guess who won the beauty contest? Yeah, the long-legged Mike Haynes. So that was a real experience. As much as I hated it, it drew me closer to the guys. They felt like, I think that if I had fought them and didn't participate in that, it would have been a miserable year. But the fact that I, bit my lip and, went ahead and did it anyway, it turned out to be a great thing. And our team that year, as I said, the year before, they only had 3 wins. Well, that year we had only 3 losses. Except our 4th loss came in the playoffs. So that was a great experience. Thank you for asking and helping me remember that.
I know, kind of along the same lines, you're in the NFL, you're on the field, and you've got that matchup against an idol, a hero, another great star in the game. Was there a moment that sticks out to you as kind of the first, like when you step out on the field and you look up and it goes, there's, and then you insert name of Hall of Famer, great legend. Was there a moment that stands out to you as kind of the first that you remember in that capacity?
Yeah, Joe Namath. You know, as a kid, I used to pretend to be Joe Namath in the street, you know, throwing the ball to my friends and everything. And, you know, he had these great targets, Jerome Barkham and Rich Castor and all these guys. And then I came into the NFL and went, oh my gosh, I'm playing against Joe Namath. You know, but because I like I say all the time, it's like mindset is the most important thing. I knew that if I went into that game feeling like I'm going up against the great Joe Namath, that it was going to be a tough day. And so I just tried to look at it as just another game. And we ended up beating the Jets. Our team had a record amount of interceptions. We had 9 interceptions in that one game. And I had 3. I had 2 against Joe Namath. And then after a while, they took him out and they put in their number 1 draft choice, Richard Todd, who was from the University of Alabama, I believe. And I got an interception off of him too. So I had 3 interceptions. My best friend, the guy I used to drive to practice with then, a guy named Prentice McCray, he had 2 interceptions that were returned for 2 touchdowns. So yeah, it was really odd to have to play against, you know, people that I really looked up to. And he's only one that I mentioned, but, you know, shoot, Bob Greasy was another one, a quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. They were Super Bowl champions. The Pittsburgh Steelers with Terry Bradshaw and Len Swan, John Stallworth, Franco Harris, and all these superstars. Every single game I was playing against guys that I had looked up to and never ever dreamed that I would be on the same field as those guys playing against them.
It's a pretty cool. I know I've never felt that feeling, but I got to admire that. It's got to be an awesome feeling to kind of step on the field and look up and see those people that you grew up idolizing.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like it, and you also get critical. You know, you get critical because now when you're in the NFL and it's your job, you're evaluating these guys. You know, the arm strength of a quarterback, the moves of a running back or a wide receiver, the hands and all these different things. And so now I'm trying to figure out how to, you know, do my job when I'm covering them as a defender. So everything started to change. And, you know, before the season was over, the glamour was gone.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to send it out to our next school. We're going to go to RC LaPerche School and Miss Erica's class. So I'm going to head and have you go ahead and unmute your microphone there. And then whenever you're ready, have the students step up and ask their question.
Hey, how you doing? This is Mr. Connell, the phys ed teacher. I'm here with Mrs. Elisadi's class and Mrs. Hannigan's class. And before the student asks a question, Mr. Haynes, we're in Smithfield, Rhode Island, right up the street from Bryant.
Awesome.
And that's probably where you won your beauty competition.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that.
All right, here's our student now.
Okay.
How do you think COVID affects the game?
How do you think what?
Say it again.
How do you think COVID-19 affects the game?
How do you think COVID-19 affects the game?
Well, I think it has been affecting the game in a lot of different ways, and the way that the guys practice, like how you guys right now in your classroom and staring at a monitor. The guys are doing the same kind of thing. Their coaches are all in different locations and they're reviewing film, game film, and preparing for the game without really being in the same room. So you have to learn in a different way. Where, you know, if not for COVID-19, they'd be on a field, definitely within 6 feet of each other, talking about what they need to do to prepare for their next opponent. And then they would sit down and they would eat together and share food together and leave together in a car. A lot of guys drive to practice together in multiple, one car or whatever. So those kinds of things. And then the actual games, it's really different. There's no fans. And so, guys who are used to playing for the attention of the crowd, that's got to be pretty disturbing to realize you just made a big play and there's not a lot of people, jumping up and screaming and for you and for your team. They're trying to do that with crowd noise, through the speaker system, but it's not the same. I'm really proud that the players are still playing hard and they seem to be able to play for each other, and their bench, the guys on the sideline seem to be able to encourage the guys to do well. Fortunately, they're pros. I think if they were young kids, it might be different. But the young kids today, they don't have big crowds. It's usually just their family there watching them play. And it's probably more like that than it is a regular NFL game for them. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, it's definitely a timely question and something that truly everybody has to deal with. And it's unfortunate, but it's part of the game today. Got a question here. This is from, let me see if I can get this name right. I'm gonna butcher this, so I'll just put it out there. It's Liz. We're gonna go with that, from Robert G. O'Donnell Middle School. They want to know, what from your career, college, high school, pro, whatever it might be, do you have a favorite play that stands out to you above the others, that when you think of, well, what was my favorite play, this is the play that stands out?
Well, the play that stands out for me is when I was a Patriot, no one had ever returned a punt for a touchdown in the team's history. And I was shocked. I can't remember how many years the team had been around, but like 20 years or close to 20 years. And in college, I used to enjoy returning punts. And so I said, that's not going to last. That is going to, that someone's going to score one, and I think it's going to be me, and it's going to be this year. And it's really funny. We had a preseason game against the Cleveland Browns, and I was returning the punt, and I started off with the ball running to the right, and I'm thinking, gosh, I'm not going to get very far if I continue that way. So I stopped, and I turn around, and I start sprinting to the left. And that was really when I realized that pro players were a lot smarter than high school and college players, because instead of like chasing me, they were trying to beat me to a point, like a cutoff point. And when I figured that out, I realized that's not going to work. I'm not going to outrun these guys. So let me stop and go back the other way. And then I did that. And then I started thinking, this is not going to work. So let me just cut up right up the middle and get what I can get. And when I did that, it was like a door opened and there was just nothing there but green grass. And I was shooting to the end zone and I was running. And one guy caught up with me on the other team, on the Browns. And I raised the ball over my head and I let him get closer. And then as what I thought I was in the end zone, and I wasn't. And I spiked the ball a little early, like I was 5 yards early. I wasn't in the end zone yet. And he didn't realize it. The guy who was chasing me didn't realize it, but I knew that if I reacted with a lot of energy and started looking for the ball, he would figure out what was going on. So I just kept running and he kept following me. And then when I turned around, one of my teammates had picked up the ball and he gave it to me. He said, "Mike, do you realize that you weren't in the end zone yet?" And I said, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "Wow, dude, that's crazy." And so I will never forget that play. All right. I'll never forget that situation. And then I was fortunate enough to return 2 punts, 4 touchdowns that season. So I did break the record and set the record, I should say.
Awesome.
And was very lucky.
See, just goes to show, even the best of the best, sometimes they mess up and they got to recover. So, and it goes to show again how great teammates are, because your teammate was there to pick that ball up for you. We're going to send it out to our last school here. We have Ellen Woodside and Miss Snyder's class. It is going to have ready for a question here. So I'm going to go ahead and have them unmute their microphones. And whenever they're ready, go ahead and have a student step up to the computer there and to the microphone and ask their question. It looks like we got a student coming up right now. And right, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Do you miss the NFL?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
Do you miss the NFL?
That's a good question. I miss playing. Yes, I do. I really enjoyed it. But I get to watch it just like you do on TV. And I enjoy it, you know, especially because I played it. I think I enjoy it more. And when the defense is on the field, the coaches are calling different defenses to stop certain kinds of plays. And when I'm watching the games on TV, I feel like I'm a coach in a sense that I know so much about the game. I have a different appreciation for it. When I was you guys' age or your age, let's say, whatever, you know, you look like you're at elementary school. When I was your age, I played every single position. I played lineman, offensive lineman, defensive lineman. I played tight end. I played quarterback, running back, cornerback, free safety. I played every position. And when I got to college, I was really focused more on one or two positions. But in the pros, you become focused on your position. It depends on the team that you're on, really. Most teams, defensive teams that I played on, the Patriots, I knew everything about every single position on the team. And became pretty much an expert. And I would imagine that a lot of the things are still the same there at the Patriots, even though the coaches have changed and the players have changed. I still believe that they're teaching things the same way. So the more you know, the better your team is going to be. And because a lot of times you'll see guys that will join a team on a Wednesday or a Thursday because one of the players was injured or something, and when this new player would have to play, everybody in the huddle, every single player on the defensive huddle could tell that new player what he needed to do. So, you know, if you say, hey, you have the A gap. I don't know if you guys know what the gaps are or anything. Oh, good. You do know. Awesome. So you can say you got A gap and the other guy's coming outside or whatever. And so you could really communicate an awful lot. And so everybody on the team, on offense or the defense, they all have to be on the same page to make sure they get things right. And when everybody knows what everybody's supposed to do, they can help each other. I have 6 kids myself, and they all played sports. And I didn't always know the different things that the kids were supposed to do in different sports, like soccer, as an example. My daughter played field hockey and lacrosse. I didn't play those sports as a kid, but I was able to help my kids because I would actually talk to the coach and learn what the different positions were supposed to do and what kinds of things that the coach wanted them to do. And I was able to be a good dad because of that. So thank you for that question. I really appreciate it.
We got time here for just a few more questions. I want to make sure we wrap up in a timely manner. But before we wrap up, I got a couple more I want to ask. And you know, you're looking at your career. You know, you got your bronze bust right here beside me, off display, so all the visitors can't see it. You guys are just getting a sneak peek premiere to Mr. Haynes' bronze bust behind me here. And that's a great award. You know, it goes to show that your football career was such a great career on the field that you're deserving to be named one of the 346 best players, coaches, administrators to ever do it. And that definitely is a great award. But outside of being named a Hall of Famer, what do you consider your greatest achievement to be, whether that's a football award, a non-football award, something totally outside of getting an award? What do you consider your greatest achievement?
Well, I really do feel like my football career was just unbelievable. And I was really, really blessed to play, really to start my career in New England with the Patriots. Chuck Fairbanks, who was our coach, I got to be good friends with him, and I started understanding more about football. Before it was just a game to me, and I really didn't know the history of football. And when you get to know some of the coaches, you actually start looking at the history. And so I'd look in the programs on game day, or even earlier, really during the week, and I would be looking at the other guys on the other team, where they went to school and what area they're from. And I started really, analyzing, things a lot differently. So I'd have to say football really did play a huge role in my life. And I don't know that anything could be could equal that. It's just been really great, and it's really about the people that I met and the experiences that I had. And I'm so blessed to have played in a Super Bowl. I mean, to me, it's like you play the game with intention. I'm not playing football because I love football. I'm playing football because I love winning championships, and I want to work with the other guys to try and have the best team. There are a lot of people that just like to play. That's not me. I don't want you on my team. If that's the only reason you're playing is because you like to play, that doesn't work for me. It's like, I want you to be the best you can be, and I'm going to be the best that I can be. And if the coach calls the defense and I do my best and you do your best and we lose the game, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it because I went 100% and so did all my teammates, and the other team was just better. But if I don't do my part, and because I made a bunch of mental mistakes or you made a mental mistake, then I feel bad. But I'm encouraged because I now have another week to get better and learn from that mistake. And so, I'm really, really blessed. I really feel fortunate. So I have to say, football has been the greatest experience for me. And the lessons that I learned on the football field have helped me off of the football field. The other thing is I was a cancer survivor. You guys probably don't know that. But because I was a cancer survivor, I wanted to share with other people that it's important to know your family history and if cancer runs in your family, so that you're looking for symptoms, or you're aware of symptoms or things that might be going on in your life, because you want to deal with these problems early in their development. So those are the two real things that stand out for me. And even my cancer experience, the thing that it has done for me, it has elevated my goal. I want to live to be 125. Before that, I never set a goal of how long I wanted to live. I just expected to live to be 60, 65. Well, I'm already over than 65, but with the cancer diagnosis, I changed and said, I want to live to be 125. So now I monitor what I eat. I make sure I get plenty of exercise, and I continue to help others. I don't want to live to be 125 if I don't have any of my friends with me. It's being more deliberate. Be deliberate about the things. Like, I really wish I could ask these kids what they're learning in the school. What's your favorite class? Is it history? Is it math? Is it science? Get that education in there, and all those things. If I had loved football the way I love it now, and I started school, I would be really having a lot of fun in those classes. But I never really fell in love with football until I was much older, because there's a lot of science involved. There's a lot of math involved. There's a lot of stuff that you learn in elementary school that you will be applying for the rest of your life. But I didn't know that. I had no idea, and I would have paid more attention.
All right, I think my last question here, and I think it's a great way to kind of sum up everything that we've talked about today, because there's been a ton of great advice that you give, and whether it's about life on the field, off the field, you talk about education right there. But if you can sum everything up that we've talked about today into one piece of advice, what would that one piece of advice you want everybody to take away from the program today be?
Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Same thing my grandmother said to me. it's a simple thing to say, but when you do it and you do it with intention, with no limits, with all the things that you have in front of you, different things you can do, and you realize it's not about you. You're going to benefit no matter what, but don't make it about you. Make it a bigger picture so that you'll have other people around you and be happy.
It's a great way to wrap it up. And that's going to wrap up this latest installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, powered by our great partners at Extreme Networks, with class of 1997 inductee, Hall of Famer, Gold Jacket, Mr. Mike Haynes. Mike, thank you so much. And I'll echo what John said earlier. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the game of football. Thank you for everything you continue to do for us here at the Hall of Fame, including this great hour that we spent together this afternoon. So I appreciate that, taking time out of your busy schedule to be a part of the program today, and truly, pass on some of that wisdom and some of that advice to students all across the country.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share some of my experiences, and I appreciate the questions and the interest from the kids. And Jake, thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate that. With that, we're going to wrap up, like I said, this latest installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of a Hall of Famer series, powered by Extreme Networks. For all of our students who tuned in today, all of our classes, thank you so much again. Mr. Haynes, thank you so much for being a part of the program today. And we hope you can tune in again and catch us again for our next installment once we kick off the new year here in a month or so. So for everybody who tuned in, Mr. Haynes, thank you so much. And we'll see you